Hello, you lovely lot. Good evening. Excuse my bed behind, but we're changing up the scenery here. I'm whispering because I don't want to be too loud. But I think tonight's subject we shall talk about mental health again, but we're going to sort of go in a little bit deeper, I think it's really important that, that people with mental health diagnosis or people that have mental health traits that they haven't yet discovered or yet realized what your issues are is to speak to someone professionally. I've been with my local mental health team for I think 8 to 10 years now. So somewhere since the age of like maybe 23, 24, 25. I'm not going to tarnish them all because I have had my fair share of terrible health professionals, and I've had my good share of good health professionals. It's like with counselling. You have to find the right counsellor for you, someone that you not click with because they keep it at a professional standard where, they can't break the professional boundaries. They have to keep it, they might come across a little bit cold when they ask their questions to you. I think it's like with medication, it's like trial and error. I don't take medication anymore because, one, I don't like the zombie effect of it, plus I'm sensitive to it, i.e., it makes you have upset tummy, makes you feel ill, and also it makes me feel very, 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 very suicidal. So I gave up my medication last November, December time. I gave it up in January, sorry. November was my overdose. But January, I decided to give up my medication because it just made me feel suicidal. Now, after maybe a month of trialing the medication, a month of, being on medication, sometimes your mood and your brain slows down so you can be more calmer in yourself, more stable. Excuse me, I had to burp. Now, with me, I've tried all medications from antidepressants to antipsychotics. Now I feel antipsychotics are 10 times more stronger. They're usually for people that have bipolar, schizophrenia, more the heavier sort of psychological mental health disorders. I've tried antidepressants as well. That's mainly to help your mood, stabilise the mood, rather than, well, they're both mood stabilisers, but with antipsychotics, they're a bit more heavier. Sometimes they can make you feel absolutely zombified, where you don't want to go anywhere. You just want to lie in bed all day, feeling sorry for yourself. And, it can be quite difficult to adjust to them, especially if you're working, especially if you're like working with machines and stuff like that, because it's advised not to be taken or used whilst you're working with machinery or driving and stuff. That's why, even though sometimes it says to take it in the morning, sometimes it's best to take it at night. But when I was on them, I felt the next day after taking them the night before, I didn't want to talk to anyone. So people would converse with me and I just grunt, and they think I was rude, and I just warn them. I'm like, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't feel like talking today. I'm on these new medications. So, yeah, so medications trial and error, like, having counselling, having therapy, it's all trial and error. It's all, let's try this, see if it works. If it don't, back to the drawing board. But I'm sick of going back to the drawing board, especially with medication, because no matter what they chuck down you or give to you to chuck down you, it's not going to change the other issues. It doesn't help your mood swings. It doesn't help, sometimes your thoughts. It might slow you down for a little while. Like, I feel when I don't sleep, I become very manic and I can run on fumes, which can be quite chaotic, because sometimes I will just want to go and drink and stuff and do things, and then it becomes a massive snowball effect of problems. I also feel, like, back to the counselling and therapies, some people are different to the treatment and the treatment and the response, and the taking it all in compared to other people. I first done counselling when my mum died in primary school, and it was the most patronising thing I ever heard in my life. They were like, see this plant, James, see this leaf, this is what happens when you die. And I just sat there at 10, 11 years of age. No, 11, sorry, at 11 years of age. Just like, it just felt like a slap in the face. I just felt like this person didn't know what they were doing. Like, I get the compassionate side. They wanted to, be compassionate and be reasonable with me, and, to, at that age, be understanding, but it was very patronising. Then as I moved to secondary school, I ended up being pulled out of class one day in like year 7, and excuse the lighting, it's the TV in the background. So I was pulled out of class at year 7. I felt it was a bit strange. They're like, oh, we're here for your bereavement counselling. And they're like, James, where is your happy place? Now you're trying to tell me where's my happy place at 11 years of age, when I've just lost my mum to suicide, at 11 years old, whilst not telling anyone, my parents, my stepmom and dad, my family members, my friends, what I saw that day. And you're telling me what's my happy place. Now, unfortunately, my mum took her life in the summer. Now, for me, summer is a bit of a difficult time because, yeah, it's hot, it's nice, the sun's out. It's better to be outside. It's better to, like, enjoy the warm weather. But summer's a bit difficult for me. I find that it's a bit, I don't know, it just seems like it's daunting and long and difficult to sort of shift my mind, especially that this year will be 22 years since my mum died. Now it's back to counselling. So that counselling I felt was very patronising. I didn't get counselling again maybe since I finished secondary school, when I was about maybe 7, 8 years ago, maybe 9. That counsellor came across a little bit cold, but as I said, counsellors have to be professional. They have to keep that professional boundary between you and them. You're not trying to make a friendship here. You're speaking about your problems, but it just felt like I wasn't being heard, and it felt like a waste of time. I also in between that time, I did another counselling where I had to pay, and I didn't enjoy that counselling at all. The therapist came across very strange. Like, she ended up like liking a few things on my Facebook, which I felt was a bit unprofessional. I didn't see it as stalking, I just felt it was a bit strange. And then after that, it took me a few years, maybe 3-4 years, to adjust, because I ended up getting kicked out of home and ended up having to live in a hotel, and I was very hooked on, like, bad things, alcohol, drugs, and I was obviously living in a hotel. And then by the grace of God, I ended up finding a supported living place called Willow Lodge, where I lived there for about 3 years, and they were a godsend. They helped me get this place here, and I think I've lived here now for 4 or 5 years. I think it might be 4 years, or maybe 5. But yeah, then obviously I had to wait 2 to 3 years for this therapy that I had last year. No, the year before that, it was 4 a year. I ended up only doing 20 to start with, then I ended up wanting to do 40 sessions. It was a talking therapy. It was good. I sort of learned to maybe slow down a little bit, but I'm still very responsive to the way people treat me, the way the way they treat me. I don't want to really go into an example of how someone treats me and how I respond, because I do want to become more stoic, which is basically more disciplined in the way I respond, the way I react. But I'm finding it a little bit difficult. Right, so I think the next therapy that I might try is the eye movement one. I can't remember, EMDR, I think it's called EMDR, where basically the therapist will have their fingers, like a finger like this, and they'll talk about a tragic event. So they'll say, when you were a young boy and you saw your mum looking through the letterbox and saw her lifeless body there, what are you feeling? And they'll move their finger across your eyes and you'll follow it. And I don't know really the aim of this. I know I should have really done my research to, give some advice to you guys that might need help with mental health, or that might need, the right direction to start your healing journey, or just to help your mental health, because it's important to obviously have a little bit of an understanding of what you're going to do, because it might benefit you or it might not benefit you. But we'll see what the plan is. I go to my mental health meetings once a week, which is every Friday. I have a great I don't want to say support worker, but I have a great mental health professional that helps me now, that I've known for a good while. He's pretty understanding. He's not too in your face. He's not too telling you what to do. He's not someone that will put you down. He's someone that will help you, and we have a great time connecting over music. But it's a hard thing. I do, as I said, I do these videos not for clout, not for attention. I do it to help other people, because this is going to get quite deep. So when my mum was alive, she was very unpredictable. She was very, I think she has bipolar. So I think I inherited it. But I got type 2. I think she had type 1, because some days she was more depressed than anything. I get very hypomanic. I get like, but I could be looking happy on the outside, but inside I'm screaming. But I want to break this generational curse of learning to manage my emotions a lot better. And I don't want to be like my mum. I've tried to take my life 22 times. from like overdoses, rope, knife, trying to jump from height. And I want to break that generational curse. I want to be the one that actually can do this. I don't know what I want to do in life. I haven't, I've tried to get in the army. I worked in retail a few times. I've worked at McDonald's, retail, the food industry, whatever, and I hated it. I don't know what I want to do in my life. I can't really be around too many people for too long because my energy just goes, and I just feel very, not anxious, but I feel, what's the word, claustrophobic. I feel like I can't escape, and I always have to escape. That's just the PTSD in me. It's like a fight or flight response. But maybe one day I will be maybe a peer support worker, because I'd love to help people with mental health, but in a different approach, to be more humanly, to have more of an understanding, because I've been through it myself. Yeah, your problems might, latch on to me while I'm trying to help you, but I'm always willing to listen. It's down to you. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it's down to you if you want to take my advice or your own advice, because it's always nice to hear other opinions from people that have been through struggles, that have been through things that are hard in their life, because you can learn things. If you're like at the crossroads of whether you don't want to live anymore, or you don't know what support or help you can get, there's always help. Either ring your GP, either like there's numbers online, like mental health support numbers. If you type them in, the last resort is obviously going to a mental health hospital. I've been admitted to, I think it's either 3 or 4 times. I've been to Dartford 3 times. I've been to Canterbury once. They're not nice places. They can make you feel a bit isolated and, a bit cautious because of other people that are, that are very mentally unwell. That are, maybe your condition's not as bad as their condition. But they do keep you safe. Some of the staff there are fantastic. I really hope and I pray to God that I don't ever go back to them places, because this may sound weird, but it's sort of become something I've learned now. But mental health battles, it's not like you can go to the doctors and see if you've got like a bad knee, a bad arm, or if you've got problems with your chest, problems with your lungs, problems with your brain, like head injuries. I don't mean mental health. But mental health to me is like a spiritual battle, and that's what I've been taught in my faith. Spiritual battles, what I mean by this is that mental health can be a generation thing from your family, from passed down from one to the other. And, you can't get a scan, you can't get an x-ray, you can't have a doctor open up your brain and go, oh, you've got this, you've got that. They can only tell by your traits and behaviours. So if that's a mental problem, if that's a mental problem, don't you think it'd be like a spiritual thing? Because it's physically not in front of you, it's in your mind. I'm not saying that it's all in your head, because that's not a nice thing to say. When some people say it's all in your head, I do not agree with that, because it's a very narrow-minded, and it's a very what's the word, ignorant thing to say. I feel that once you find your mental health diagnosis, and I'm not going to exclude psychosis or schizophrenia, because that's a very, very hard mental health diagnosis to deal with, because it's just awful that people have been, that get that, hearing voices. I've heard voices myself. I've had to have like all my kitchen knives removed from the place because I can't have them here. Because obviously when I was doing drugs, I got a bit of psychosis, drug-induced psychosis when I was coming off of them. See, I'm being very open, and this is, I'm not afraid. As a man, mental health is a difficult thing. Even as a woman, I'm not saying it's a sex thing, but as a man, you're portrayed in society to be this big, strong, tough man. That, when this mental health thing, it looks weak. It's not weak. It's a strength. Because God didn't give his battles to his weakest warriors. He gave them to his strongest warriors because he knew that you can get through this. Now, I'm not going to ramble on anymore because I've done 21 minutes. But if you want more help, more guidance, then comment on this video on YouTube, and we'll talk about, there's a chat system on here. We can chat on there because I don't use social media. Mental health is social media is a terrible thing, and mental health is, but I believe in you. Good night and God bless. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and share the love to everyone. Be kind. God bless.